Good morning, and welcome back to our series on discussing the faith with members of the parish. My name is Trobe. I'm the RCIA coordinator. It is Gaudete Sunday this morning, and I'm joined by Aidan McSharry. Joy, Aidan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers.
Great. So Aidan, you grew up in the parish. You received your first Holy Communion and your reconciliation, and you were confirmed in the parish. So I wonder if you can just tell us briefly, your recollections of growing up as a young person in St. Thomas's Parish.
Obviously, though I didn't have any serious questions or coherent thoughts about faith. It was more just I was born into it and I grew up with it. And I don't know if that's necessarily such a bad thing, but especially being at the St. Thomas's, the primary, there was very much a sense of community there within the faith. In fact, pretty much everyone around me was part of the faith, and it was just it's just how we were just all together, and even if we didn't understand what was going on, it was something we took interest in as children at the time. But obviously no serious questions, no reflection. I think typical child stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point. That community is such a big part of our faith.
Definitely.
And you mentioned St. Thomas's School, and many of us have been privileged to have our children go through the school, and that's a community. Some people say that faith is caught, not taught, but it obviously to have both, and our community certainly provides that, which is wonderful. Emphasis. So I wonder if you could, you're at university, you're at Imperial College University, I believe. And you're now in your second year, is that right?
Yeah, that is right. That's right.
Okay, so that's a big change. It's moving away from this community. Tell us a bit about, some of the challenges in the context of faith, of how perhaps you've seen your faith necessarily have to adapt and change by making that move to university.
I think actually I'll start a little bit earlier back than that, because I feel like when I was at school, I went to a secular school, and I kind of lost touch with faith even then. And in fact, probably from when I was GCSE age or what, that kind of stopped even going to church. I just kind of lost interest. Went back to the stage as a child where you're not questioning, not reflecting. So there was a bit of a cycle there. And in fact, that persisted up until maybe a year ago, when one of my flatmates, she was actually Catholic as well, from Singapore, and it kind of reminded me of the community and the warmth that I felt as a child. Well, not even a child, even a young teenager in the faith. And so I've just started to question, reflect, think more and more upon what faith means to me, what the community is, what it is to be a Catholic, the warmth, the certain warmth I feel when I'm at Mass, when I'm praying, all of that. So what was I going to say? I was talking about university, yeah. So all of that, basically, it's only recently, and this academic year, being around near a church in the city, that I go again. Well, I go now to a church in London. I don't go with anyone. I just go by myself every Sunday morning. And to be honest, it's something I don't know why, but it's something I kind of do know why, but it's something I look forward to throughout the week. It's something that I know, it brightens up my Sunday, and for want of a better expression. But I feel like a certain warmth there. In terms of community, though, I don't feel like I've necessarily found one there. I am part of there is a Catholic society at my university, but through my own laziness, I haven't attended any sort of meetings, and it always seems, I'm doing this, that they have some Bible study on Thursday that I've been wanting to attend for a good 3 weeks now, but just forget every time, and that's my own laziness, to be frank. But yeah, I imagine once I'm integrated in that sense of community is still there. But to be honest, I've even felt that old sense of community back at St. Thomas's like recently, since I've been going a lot more to mass every Saturday night, and then, well, when I was there, when I'm up down in Sevenoaks. And yeah, I don't know, the sense of community is special down here. It's not the same in London. It's special down here. I can't lie.
No,
But
we are very fortunate, in terms of,
yeah,
you
definitely.
just feel community here, and
Yeah,
particularly in a small town like this, and
yeah.
that specialness about it. But I think that's really beautifully put, that you've mentioned that you've rediscovering the sense of community, and that's an important part of the church. The church is providing a sense of community and a sense of purpose in our individual faith, isn't it? And that is, we at different times we perhaps have this sense of being closer or more removed. If you look at the whole history of the Bible, to some extent about the people of God moving away and then coming back, moving away, and that whole cycle, and that gets replicated in our own individual lives. And that's wonderful just to get that sense from you of that rediscovering of that importance of community. That's really beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe it is just being at home, but it is very special. Well, maybe it is just because I've grown up here and grown up in the parish. Maybe it is that.
Yeah.
But it is very special for me.
Well, but it's wonderful to hear that you've rediscovered the joy of Mass and Mass, which is it's the church refers to Mass and the Eucharist as the source and summit of our faith.
Yeah,
it is so wonderful for us to retain that, and so that's beautiful, Aidan. Thank you, and tell us a bit about, because as you said, you went to a secular school. There's these pressures on all of us to perhaps turn away from the sense of spiritual, because our world obviously heightens the material and it can lessen the spiritual. What do you find are perhaps the particular challenges that you've noticed, not in your own life, but if you look around you in those of your peer group at university, that it does create these challenges of, because how is it possible for a young person in the UK today to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? It's not easy, right? And tell us about your sense of where you see those challenges.
I'm not really sure what to answer for that. I do find, although it sounds selfish, there is an individuality in being a Catholic when others, or even a person of religion when others aren't. But I feel, no, I'm not really sure what to answer for that. No, to be honest.
Look, that is, if you knew the answer, Aidan, I guess we would have bottled it, and the bishops would be labeling it and sending it out in the post. So but I guess the point is that there is, as you say, there's quite an individual journey, because it is. I guess what you're really identifying is that it is quite exceptional in this world to have young people that are on the journey, right? Yeah.
I feel, what sort of challenges are there to being? I feel like there's a lot more. As a young person, there's an investment in social media that's a necessary investment, but the necessity of it is somewhat just implicit in existing. Basically, you kind of have to if you're a young person, and I feel like there's very much a vanity there, and you kind of lose a sense of reality when you invest yourself in social media and the vanity that comes along with it. And I think that's potentially, that's not really much to do with the question, but
not
I feel
at all.
like
I think that's spot on, actually.
You think? I feel like that mentality, like a very like vanity, vice, because there's a lot of, especially as a university student in London, I've noticed that the main way that people like to get closer together is just simply through going out drinking. And sure, that's fun, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it sometimes, but I feel there's much more to personal connection than just drinking in a pub. That is fun. Yes. Drinking in a club maybe then, but no, I do find that just the secular kind of No, I don't really know. I'm not sure. It's a bit
I
hard to
think,
like coherently string thoughts.
no, that's right. But actually, I think you've identified some of the key issues. Is that, I think at the moment one of the big challenges is the fact that the secular world has become very adept at inhabiting our minds. And
Yeah, definitely.
the point that you raise about social media is because it's a very useful tool. I mean, here we are. I'm stuck in a in a quarantine hotel. You're at home, and we can have this conversation. I could work
Yeah,
and this week rather. So these are great tools, and of course the church is trying to inhabit this space and trying to come into that space. But it is a very invasive, and so I think
yeah,
you spot on in terms of the mental ambition that the secular world has for us is
yeah,
a challenge, and
yeah,
the spiritual space and our Catholic faith and the Mass in particular is a great way to counter that. So no,
yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you for that. Why don't I just finish by asking you? Obviously the church there's lots of challenges in the church. There's maybe lots of controversies in the church, but perhaps we don't. And you, of course, have rediscovered the Mass in a way, is what you've told us. And that clearly is I guess will be a big part of your answer. But what is it that you feel, aside from all these controversies and some of the difficulties, what is it that the church offers you which makes your life better?
There's a few reasons. I won't go into all, but like there is just a set. I'm To be honest, I don't feel like I'm far enough down the line to really know. But there's I don't know if I'm allowed, or I'm probably allowed to say what I said in confession. But I went to confession yesterday and I said to Father that I what did I say? I said that I don't really exactly know why, but it's more just there's more just like a drive to go to mass and a drive to pray. I don't really know. I still, in fact, don't have coherent thoughts. I would have thought that like 15, 20 or odd years later, I would have coherent thoughts on the matter, but it seems like I don't entirely yet, and I imagine I won't for a while. But there is something that, there must be some good reason I go to church, and I enjoy going to church, and I get a very like special warmth out of it that I only get from going to church. I don't seem to, I'm not able to replicate that elsewhere. Obviously I have different things in my life that give me warmth in different ways, but church is something very special. Mass is something very special. But yeah, I don't really know why, to be honest. It's just something that I'm interested in. Also something I want to, like, from my childhood, I want to relate to a bit more, and I don't want to lose, because it's definitely is a big part of my life. And I was about to say has been, that's true, but it still is. And it's something I want to develop, because it's, I don't know, there's just something that tells me that maybe this is something interesting. There's something much deeper and much more profound than I ever thought as a child, because as a child you can't understand the depth and all of that behind this.
Exactly. That's beautifully put. And it's a lifetime journey for all of us, Aidan.
Definitely.
We're all still learning about our faith, and actually to absorb the full Catholic faith is a lifetime's work. That's the beauty of it. But you've given us some great perspectives here, and I think particularly this idea that community is so key to our faith, which it absolutely is.
Definitely.
And your recognition of that, and coming back to this sense of community and this sense of home that it provides. I think you've given some great perspective, and we really thank you for that. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. So enjoy the rest of Gaudete Sunday at home.
Thank you, and you.
And thank you again very much.
Cheers.
All right, cheers.